Ah, trauma. That old chestnut. It's a term that has become almost ubiquitous in our modern lexicon, tossed around in casual conversations and serious discussions alike. But what does it really mean? How deeply do we understand its implications and the shadows it casts on our lives? A word so readily bandied about these days, yet so poorly understood. We often think of trauma as a psychological wound, a scar on the mind left by a harrowing experience, but there's more to it than meets the eye. You see, trauma, my dear friend, is not merely a psychological ailment. It's a complex, multifaceted phenomenon that touches upon the very essence of our being. It challenges our perceptions, our beliefs, and our understanding of the world around us. It's a philosophical conundrum, a metaphysical pickle, if you will. Trauma forces us to grapple with questions that have puzzled philosophers for centuries. What is the nature of suffering? How do we find meaning in pain? Can we ever truly heal from our deepest wounds? It forces us to confront the very nature of existence, the fragility of our being, and the perplexing dance between mind and world. It's a dance that is both beautiful and tragic, filled with moments of clarity and confusion. Now, you might be thinking, Stephen, old boy, what on earth has philosophy got to do with therapy? Well, let me tell you, the connection runs deeper than you might think. Therapy and philosophy are two sides of the same coin, both seeking to understand the human condition. Well, more than you might imagine, every therapeutic approach, whether it's the probing depths of psychoanalysis or the empowering embrace of existentialism, rests upon a bedrock of philosophical assumptions about the human condition. These assumptions shape the way we approach healing and understanding. They offer different lenses through which we attempt to make sense of the fractured narratives of our lives. Each lens provides a unique perspective, a different way of seeing and understanding our experiences. Think of a therapist's office. It's a space where individuals grapple with the big questions, the meaning of suffering, the nature of self, the search for healing. Think of a therapist's office. It's a sanctuary, a place where the mind can wander and explore the depths of its own existence. It's a space where individuals grapple with the big questions, the meaning of suffering, the nature of self, the search for healing. And what I ask, are these, if not philosophical inquiries in disguise? These are the questions that have driven human thought for millennia, the questions that lie at the heart of both therapy and philosophy. They are the threads that weave together the tapestry of our existence, the questions that guide us on our journey towards understanding and healing. Now, when it comes to understanding trauma, the world of philosophy offers a veritable buffet of perspectives. It's like stepping into a grand library where each book offers a different lens through which to view the complexities of human suffering and resilience. We have the playful deconstructions of post-structuralism, which challenge us to rethink the very foundations of our understanding. Then there's the interpretive dance of hermeneutics, inviting us to see trauma as a narrative, a story that can be read and reread, each time revealing new layers of meaning. The stark realities of existentialism confront us with the raw, unfiltered truths of our existence, pushing us to find meaning in the face of suffering. And of course, the ever-alluring depths of psychoanalysis, which delve into the unconscious mind, exploring the hidden forces that shape our behaviors and experiences. Each of these philosophical approaches offers a unique perspective, a different angle from which to illuminate the shadowy corners of our past. They provide us with tools to dissect, understand, and ultimately heal from our traumas. The post-structuralists, those mischievous sprites, delight in picking apart language, exposing the power dynamics and hidden assumptions embedded within our very words. They challenge us to see how language itself can be both a prison and a key to understanding trauma. They remind us that trauma, often experienced as a loss of voice, is also shaped by the limitations of language itself. The words we use, or fail to use, can either trap us in our pain or help us articulate and process our experiences. Hermeneutics, on the other hand, invites us to approach trauma as a text to be interpreted, a story waiting to be understood. It encourages us to delve into the narrative of our lives, to find the threads of meaning that weave through our experiences. It recognizes the subjective nature of experience, acknowledging that each individual constructs their own unique meaning from the events of their lives. This approach allows for a more personalized understanding of trauma, one that honors the individual's journey and perspective. And then we have existentialism, my personal favorite. It doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of life, but instead embraces them, urging us to find our own meaning and purpose, even in the midst of suffering. More on that later. But first, let's delve into the linguistic quagmire that is trauma. Understanding how language shapes our experience of trauma is crucial. It can either confine us within the walls of our pain or provide a pathway to healing and liberation. Trauma, you see, often leaves its victims speechless. It's a wound that runs so deep, so primal, that words seem to crumble before its immensity. How does one articulate the unspeakable, the unimaginable? How do you capture the shattering of one's world, the loss of innocence, the sheer terror that seems to defy linguistic representation? It's a challenge, to be sure. Some argue that trauma creates a void in language, a black hole where words once were. Others suggest that trauma invents its own language, a private lexicon of flashbacks, nightmares and visceral reactions that defy easy translation. The very act of speaking about trauma can be re-traumatizing, forcing individuals to relive the horror, to confront the inadequacy of language to fully encompass their experience. It's a delicate dance, this interplay between trauma and language, a tightrope walk between silence and expression. Now, while I sympathize with the linguistic challenges of articulating trauma, I find myself grappling with the complexities of its essence. Trauma, by its very nature, is elusive and multifaceted, often defying simple explanations or definitions. I must confess to a certain philosophical unease with the notion of trauma as solely a recurring sense of absence. This perspective, while valid, seems to overlook the tangible and visceral aspects of trauma that many individuals experience. Yes, trauma can leave a gaping hole, a void where security and trust once resided. It can create an emptiness that feels insurmountable, a chasm that separates us from our former selves and the world around us. But to reduce it to mere absence, to an ethereal spectre haunting the corridors of the mind, strikes me as a rather incomplete picture. Trauma is not just a ghostly presence that lingers in the background, it is a force that actively shapes our reality. For you see, my dear reader, trauma is not just an absence, it is also a presence. A stark, undeniable presence that refuses to be ignored. It manifests in our thoughts, our behaviors, and our physical sensations. It is the intrusive memories that hijack our thoughts, replaying moments of pain and fear with relentless precision. These memories can be so vivid and overwhelming that they feel as real as the present moment. It's the hypervigilance that keeps us on edge, constantly scanning our environment for potential threats. This heightened state of alertness can be exhausting, draining our energy and making it difficult to relax or feel safe. The emotional landmines that explode without warning, triggered by seemingly innocuous stimuli, can send us spiraling into panic or despair. These reactions are not just in our minds, they are felt deeply in our bodies. To truly understand trauma, we must confront its paradoxical nature. Its ability to be both absent and present, both a void and a force. It is a ghost that can also manifest as a very real and terrifying monster. This duality is what makes trauma so challenging to address. It demands that we acknowledge its elusive nature while also recognizing its tangible impact on our lives. We must learn to navigate the delicate balance between these two aspects, understanding that trauma is not one-dimensional, but rather a complex interplay of absence and presence. A ghost that can also manifest as a very real and terrifying monster. It is a force that can shape our reality, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and physical sensations in profound ways. And that, my friend, requires more than simply acknowledging its elusive nature. It demands that we turn and face the Gorgon's gaze head-on, confronting the full spectrum of trauma's impact on our lives. Only by doing so can we begin to heal and reclaim our sense of self, finding strength in the face of adversity and transforming our pain into resilience.